What's up guys, in this video we bring you a match I played on the Pokemon trading card game online using the Delpox Magnezone Miltank deck that I did a profile of the other day. And right off the bat we see my opponent mulligan with 2 Pokemon Catcher and a Blacksmith. So I'm just going to assume that my opponent's probably playing some sort of Pyroar deck, probably one similar to the one that Michael Pramwat played at the Pokemon US National Championships. So here I open up with the Reshiram just to shield my Fennekin from anything like a Mewtwo EX with a DCE. And a muscle band could knock it out, so I definitely don't want that to happen. That'd be a bad turn of events. And there we see the Litleo starting active and 2 Mewtwo EX and a Charizard, which is probably better for my opponent. Some, Pyroar decks decide to play less of an EX line and just more focus on the Pyroar, but probably for my opponent that's better to run the EXs because my deck can handle Pyroar pretty well, just the straight Pyroar line. So we'll have to see what my opponent does. Now, my opponent does not end this turn. I have a very, very good setup. I can use that Dowsing Machine or the Ultra Ball to thin my hand out and use the Rare Candy into Delpox while evolving the other into Braixen. So that would be very good. I could thin my hand down to 1 card and then use Mystic Flame if my opponent doesn't play the N. And there we see a Lysander, which is kind of annoying. If they knock it out somehow with a Mewtwo and a DCE here, then that could be pretty bad. Although it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world because like I said, I can still evolve the one on the bench with the Rare Candy Delpox. And we see my opponent bench a Litleo off the Bicycle and a Level Ball for another Litleo. So my opponent has a pretty decent start, although their hand size is pretty small, so that's definitely something to take note of. And here I'll have to decide in what order to do this and which Fennekin I should evolve at this point. I'm not really sure it makes a huge difference, but just something to think about a little bit. And the main strategy with this deck, the main things you have to worry about are decking yourself out, because if you're constantly drawing cards, that can be a problem. And also playing cards in the right order, because a lot of the times you want to thin your hand down to use Mystic Fire, but you have to decide in what order you should play things down and what you should get with those cards. It can be a pretty big deal. But here I decide to play the Ultra Ball, get the Magnemite. I could probably play the Dowsing Machine for something, but it's a good card, and I think I want to save that for something a little bit better. Probably taking a knockout by using it would probably be better. Maybe get a Lysander or a Blacksmith at some point. But there we see the big Mystic Fire for 5 fresh cards, which is very good. And we see a pretty good hand, actually, off of that Mystic Fire. I'll be able to use a Juniper this turn, which is very good, because I haven't played a supporter yet despite drawing all these cards. And I'll have to decide where to attach. I think I'm actually going to attack with Miltank here because I can knock out that Litleo, take out one of their potential Pyroar options. Those while they're not the biggest deal with this deck, Miltank's a good attacker and I enjoy using it, so probably going to want to take out those as quickly as possible. And we see I Dowsing Machine for the switch that I discarded earlier with the Juniper, and then I can Juniper for another fresh hand. And I can bench a Fennekin and Powerful Friends for 80 damage. Miltank's just a great attacker, especially in all these Stage 2 decks. Just doing 80 damage for 1 energy is extremely strong, especially against a lot of these smaller basic Pokemon like Litleo and Pikachu and a lot of these other ones. So very good start for me, and I have a pretty decent hand to work with. Definitely be tricky deciding what exactly to thin out if my opponent doesn't play an N with his last card. But nope, we see the N, and I actually get a better hand. I like working with these smaller hands a little bit better than having these large hands and trying to figure out what to get rid of. But my opponent evolves into Pyroar. We'll have to see what he does here. We see the Muscle Band go onto the Pyroar, and looking at my hand, I have a very good setup, and here he just decides to pass the turn. Nothing else he can really do. I do wake up with the Miltank, but with Pyroar's intimidating main, I won't be able to Powerful Friends, which is probably okay. I think I can take a knockout here. I have 2 Delpox into play. It's just going to be a matter of how much I really want to discard to, decide if I really want to take that knockout. I'm pretty sure I could take it, but, I'd have to discard a lot of things to use the Mystical Fires to get enough cards to do it, so I might be content with just passing the turn here. Miltank's not going to be particularly useful against Pyroars anyway, so it's not a big deal losing that. And by going down in another prize or allowing my opponent to take a prize, my N becomes stronger, which is definitely a card I'm probably going to play a lot of. And here I have to decide what to do with my hand. I can but I don't know if I really want to. My opponent only has 4 cards. I don't want to give them a fresh 6 to work with and, you know, open up some blacksmith shenanigans. I play the level ball just to get out of my hand. There's nothing left for me to take. And we'll just have to see what I do. With that level ball, I could have gotten a Fennekin, but that is prized. I only have 3 available to me, which is okay. I'll have to decide what to do here. I think I'm going to use Mystical Fire, excuse me. And if I get an Ultra Ball, then I can get the Magnezone. And what do you know? There's the Ultra Ball. Very, very good draw. Now I can play the Skyla for the rare candy. Use that Ultra Ball. Just got to decide what to discard. You know, I could discard a Switch and maybe, you know, an Iris or a Fire Energy, but I've already burned a Switch, and a lot of the times these other decks like to capture out my Magnezone just because it has a 3 retreat cost, so I don't think I want to get rid of that Switch. Probably just get rid of the Iris and the Fire Energy to get the just get the Magnezone into play. And at that point, I think I'd be okay with ending my opponent to a fresh 6, because then I'd get a nice fresh set of cards. And, you know, with the Magnezone and the Mystical Fire from Delpox, I think that, you know, at any point, even though my opponent will get some more cards, I think, you know, whatever I net off of this, I can work with, you know, with Mystic Fire. Anything is really, you know, valuable to me. So I'll pass my turn, you know, content with just passing and not, you know, knocking out the Pyroar. I'll be able to knock it out next turn very easily. And we do see my opponent play the double colorless onto the Pyro, which is, you know, it's fine, although it will be knocked out. And if they don't get any more energy into play by, you know, the way of Blacksmith or something, then all of their energy will be gone, which will be very bad for them. Leave my opponent in a pretty tricky spot. We see the level ball go down, but it doesn't get anything. It appears as though the 4th Litleo is prized, so we won't have to worry about another Pyroar. And we see Pyroar go down on the bench. But again, my opponent just played a Juniper, so without a lot of, you know, Blacksmith acceleration, we're not really going to see too much from my opponent this next turn, because I will be able to take a knockout on Pyroar. Pyroar is really not too much difficulty for Delpox. Just powering up Delpox without any additional energy or Muscle Band will knock out a Pyroar. And Pyroar cannot knock out Delpox without a lot of extra cards like, you know, a Laser, Verbank. But here I just have to decide what to, you know, what I should play in what order. Could probably Ultra Ball, get rid of the Miltank and the Level Ball, because the Level Ball is not going to get anything. And here I decide if I should take the Magnezone or not. I decide not to take it because I don't have a Magnemite I can evolve anyway, so it doesn't really seem like it'd be that useful. You know, having it in my hand will allow me to not draw as many cards, and you know, I might be able to draw into it, but again, you know, it's really not, you know, I'd rather take the chance of drawing into it than just have it in my hand, if that makes sense. So my hand I actually get off of the Mystic Fire is very good. I have 2 Blacksmith I can work with. I think I only play 1, just, you know, keeping it in my hand just in case something crazy happens, and you know, I lose my Delpox. I might need to power up that Fennekin and get another Delpox into play, who knows. So I decided to keep it in my hand, and I really don't need much else, you know, besides this. You know, I don't think my Delpox that's active is going to go down this turn, unless we see, you know, the Charizard EX get powered up with, you know, Blacksmith and a double colorless energy. You could definitely see it go down, the Delpox go down, but even then I'll be able to Blacksmith onto the Delpox, or, you know, just attack with Miltank would be good as well. We see a Roller Skates, and that's a Tails. We see my opponent bench a Litleo, and then we see my opponent Blacksmith. So maybe they had the Litleo, they just decided not to play it, or just spin out with the level ball, who knows. We see the Blacksmith, and we see a 3rd Fire Energy go down, which is a little bit strange. You know, they won't be able to take the knockout here, so I'm, you know, kind of confused as why they would just attack with Charizard and not get the knockout. Doesn't seem like a very good play. But here I think I make a mistake. I should use the Blacksmith and then use the Super Rod. I'm mainly using the Super Rod because I was down to 8 cards and I don't want to deck myself out at any point. That would be very bad. But so here I'm probably going to play the Blacksmith. I'm just kind of calculating it out, see if I can get a knockout on Charizard this turn, and I don't think I can because I played the Blacksmith. after I played the Super Rod. If I played the Blacksmith and get that out and then played the Super Rod, I could Mystic Fire from my deck, and if I draw one of those 2 fire energies I put back, or it'd really only be 1 fire energy with the Super Rod, but if I drew that I could knock out Charizard. But either way, it doesn't really seem like I'd be able to take the knockout regardless, so probably not the biggest deal in the world. So I'm content with just attacking for 130, setting it up for maybe a Milk Tank knockout. And we'll see what my opponent has to do. They're definitely under a lot of pressure. They're down by a prize, and they'll definitely be losing their Charizard EX next turn regardless of what happens. And we see my opponent just play the Fire Energy on the Mewtwo, which is fine. I'm not really too worried about Mewtwo at this point, although it can do a lot of damage to Delpox. But we need quite a bit of energy on it to actually take the knockout. 7 total, or 6 with the Muscle Band. So here I'm going to try and get one of those 2 fire energy I put back, and here I play an N just to give myself 4 cards and I can get more off of the Mystic Fire. And here I make a misplay. I should have played the Startling Megaphone and maybe the Switch as well. I thought I had more Mystic Fire to work with. I thought I actually still had the other Delphox in play, but it just got knocked out. Silly me. But that way I could have had a better chance at getting the fire energy, and taking the knockout with Miltank would have been nice. And here I just play the Skyla just to look and confirm that I definitely messed up. So I have to decide what to do. I think I'll just switch into Delphox and take the knockout with that. Like I said, Mewtwo's really not too big of a concern for me. It'll need a lot more energy to knock me out, and I don't really think it has the ability to do that. Maybe, I don't know, maybe a DCE and a Muscle Band could knock me out. So if my opponent can net that, they can knock out Delphox, and that'd be pretty bad for me. But unless they get that, they won't be able to respond with a knockout on Delphox, and I'll be in a really good position to take this game. And we see my opponent promote the Mewtwo, so we'll have to see how they respond. We see the Litleo evolve into Pyroar, probably not very big here, but we see a Roller Skates. That is a head, so that could be pretty big for my opponent, getting 3 additional cards off of that flip. We see a lot more decks going for, oh wow, we see another Roller Skates. I was gonna say we have a lot more decks going for these flip cards, bigger risk but bigger reward. I'm not really sure, how I feel about that. Some decks it's definitely worth it, but in this deck obviously it's very consistent. We don't really need cards like that. But we see my opponent actually get 6 additional cards off of Roller Skates there, so definitely working out for my opponent. If we see the Muscle Band and the double colorless energy, we can see a knockout on Delphox, which would be pretty bad. But no, we see just a regular fire energy go on to Mewtwo, so that will not be enough to knock out Delphox. And here I think I can probably take this game if I draw the right cards. And here I'll have to decide. I have the Pal Pad that I can use to get the Blacksmith back into my deck, and I'll probably just get both just to increase my chance of drawing them. I'm just kind of looking through if there's anything else that I could use. Maybe might be better, but no, I think we're just going to put both Blacksmith back into my deck with the Pal Pad. Just give myself the best odds of drawing it as possible. And there we go. And here I think I will attach. I can either Fiery Torch or I can attach. I'm not sure if it really matters too much. Definitely thinking about it though. I think I decide to attach to the Delphox, or maybe the Miltank if things go south, because I don't need that extra fire energy on the Delphox. Just a Blacksmith will be enough damage in play, or excuse me, enough energy in play to knock out that Mewtwo. So I don't think I need to attach to the Delphox. And there we see the attach to the Miltank. And I didn't get the Blacksmith, but I have some more options. I have an N I can still play, and I can use the Fiery Torch on the fire energy. And here I draw a Skyla, and here I can't remember if I played a supporter this turn, but I haven't. So I play the Skyla for the Blacksmith, play the Blacksmith, attach 2 fire energies, and get the knockout on the Mewtwo. So you can see this is a very, very good deck in the right situations, especially with the meta shift going towards things like Pyroar. Can be a very strong deck to play. But just being able to Blacksmith and continue your setup is very good. And we get a little prize box. Let's see what we get, and we get a reverse double colorless energy, which is pretty cool. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this this match. that I played. If you guys want to see more like it, definitely subscribe for more future videos and like the video. And I'll see you guys later. Peace.